What's up, Coug fans? Dayon Dunlap here with Kris Gardner on Let's Rage Coogs. Cougs got a dominating victory, 65-49. We'll get right into it. Let's get into this intro.
Percent overall from the field, but he was also 50% from threes. He was 5 to 10.
I know you're out there. It's okay. Stand back there.
No, more than likely you're gonna get that number one seed, and so I want Houston to be ranked at number 1 and 8.
Welcome to Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian family. That's our main sponsor, our primary sponsor, but also thank you to our secondary sponsor, Star Pizza. With multiple locations across the Houston area, Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. I am Kris Gardner of the Houston Round Bar Review. As my man Dan Dunlap said, we're going to talk about the Cougs dominating 65-49 win over Towson in a quarterfinal game of this year's Charleston Classic. Towson missed free throws. The game was never in doubt. I mean, they had some good execution. I'll give them credit. They did some good things in the second half.
Yeah.
But the game wasn't in doubt. What are your thoughts on it? Miles Coleman, he's starting us off. Go Cougs. Send us your comments on YouTube. Watch us on Twitter as well as YouTube. But let's talk about this game, and then we'll do it again Friday about the semifinal when the Cougs face either Utah or Wake Forest Friday afternoon.
Well, to start, it was a shakeup in the starting lineup. Damian Dunn inserted, which no surprises for me there. I think he's more of the well-rounded basketball player. Although he struggled today, that was just something to note. But to start the game, Houston really did what Houston does, suffocating defense, especially in that first half. And he was able to move the ball a lot on offense and get a lot of quality shots. A lot of shots really didn't fall, but LJ Cryer looked really, really good offensively. Showed his full offensive repertoire here today, and seems to be more comfortable in this system as the game is going on. So I love what I saw from LJ and also Jamal. I think those two really complement each other well. Jamal had his best game so far this season. He looked really, really in command of the offense and getting everybody in their spots, being able to collapse the defense, penetrate, score, really do pretty much whatever he wanted. And he was elite on the defensive end. He really was. He was elite on the defensive end tonight.
And Jamal had 8 assists. He directed the offense. You know, you see, he is the engine. And avoiding that early foul trouble, he played and set the tone that first half. LJ Cryer got buckets. LJ, you said a key word there, more comfortable in the offense. The more he plays in Houston system, the better he'll perform. Led the team in scoring with 18 points. Damian Dunn got the start. He just seemed off. He got good looks. Mid-range post was there just to make a shot. He was 0 for 8, and they still won by 16 points. I mean, Emmanuel Sharp didn't sulk about not starting, came off the bench, and got production. I think Emmanuel got 14 points. He was 4 for 7 from the floor, including 3 for 5 from 3. So LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp combined to go 6 for 12 from three-point range. The Cougs did what they had to do to win. They not finished the game well from the floor, going 1 for their last 11. That's why the margin of victory was only 16 points, but the game was never in doubt. The Cougs improved to 4-0 on this young season, and we'll get ready for Wake Forest and the winner of Wake Forest-Utah Friday afternoon. Utah-Wake Forest probably will start in roughly, 15 minutes or so in the last game of the quarterfinals for the Charleston Classic. But give us your comments. We're going to be here roughly to 8:30, 8:45 for this edition of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian family. That's what we're here for, fans. We're going to give you post-game shows, men's basketball and football. And, you know, it's basically basketball season now because football is pretty much done for all of us, you know.
Yeah.
So post-game shows for men's basketball throughout the season, brought to you by the Saxenian family and hopefully Star Pizza as well as throughout the season. But thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your comments. Let's get into it. Nothing big. I just verified before the game started, when I saw Dayon was in the starting lineup, that Emmanuel wasn't injured, anything like that. And I was told no. So Dayon got to start. He'll bounce back tomorrow. No worries about it. This team is versatile. Emmanuel start, Dayon start, the other one comes off the bench. Whatever Coach Sampson believes is best for the program, for the team, as long as those young men adapt, and they will. We've seen no indication they'll have problems come off the bench, whoever it is. Throughout the game, the announcer talked about how deep this team is. And Dayon, I think you heard a few times, they referenced it. Coach Sampson said to them, the national media, the guys announcing this game, he likes this team. He said again, he likes the depth of this team.
Yeah, he says it a lot. And I think with the number of depth, I mean, because you look at recent years, he talked about Jamal having to play a lot of minutes, maybe dealing with injuries with Marcus and different things like that. With the level of depth that they have, one player goes down, I mean, God forbid, knock on wood, I still wouldn't miss a beat. But within that, the level of depth gets you hard to prepare for, because you can't really just key on one player. There's literally not one player that you can key on and be like, we slow him down. I think maybe LJ Choir will be on the scouting report, at the top of the scouting report for most players, just because of living his scoring ability, because he's such a potent scorer. But other than that, I mean, you still got Dayon who can light you up. You got, whether it's Emmanuel that can light you up, Jamal, and we talked about our last episode, they got at least 4 or 5 players that can get you 20 points on any given night. But watching this game, I was kind of thinking, like, I think maybe Dayon Dunn may be the best low post scorer. I think JVA is a player that they'll feature in the post. I mean, not JVA, J1, and they'll throw it in the JVA, in which we'll talk about him in a minute. He had a good game and showed some flashes, as he always does every game. But I think he's the best low post scoring threat that they have, whether it's in the mid post, not necessarily on the block, but that kind of player to be able to post up. And so that was something I was thinking about. J1, of course, has the ability to do it, but I think in those moments, I just want to watch in some different moments, who is he going to isolate in certain moments to get the ball to. And so it's still so early to see another dominating victory at this point, especially in the second half. Coach Sampson just getting other players playing time, playing with certain different lineups. But the depth is real. I think this team could beat you in a plethora of ways.
Agreed. And Dayon gives Coach Sampson and the staff a different look, having a poster from the wing spot.
The mid post,
that mid post, you don't have to go to Juan or a JV down on the low block.
Mm-hmm.
Dayon can post up, get that pump fake, draw fouls, and get some points at the foul line, which is another option that previous teams haven't had. Get points easily at the free throw line. Somebody, if the offense is struggling, toss down Dayon, get a foul, make it 2 free throws, and we'll settle down the offense that way. So that's a different look, a different item in the bag for Coach Sampson and the staff to utilize for this season. Fans, where are y'all? We see you. We see you watching. Don't be shy with the comments. Come on, bring your comments. I know. Don't get bored with the success. Okay? Enjoy it, but give us your comments, your thoughts. What do you see this team tonight against Towson? Michael Jones, that's fair. Am I wrong to have one of the Cougs? I didn't get a chance to look up the betting line. I meant to, because I wasn't sure what it was, and I thought about it too late. The game was winding down, so I didn't get a chance to look it up after the fact. But I was kind of curious to see what the betting line was for the Cougs in this matchup with Towson. So I don't know if the Cougs covered or whatever. But no, you're not wrong for that. See, maybe that's why Michael was asking about it. It was 22.4. So the Cougs did not cover 22.5. I know what you mean, 22.5. So, hey, they didn't cover this time. They'll get it back Friday. That's all right. If you're into those kind of things, Dayon.
Right. I mean, and I agree with you. Yeah, definitely shouldn't be no problem with wanting the Cougs to win by 20 plus. And I think they definitely could have if they would have played their starters the bulk of the minutes going down the stretch. But just watching this game, although this is a tournament, and I was thinking about this, being in the Big 12 now versus the American, Coach Sampson and staff doesn't have to schedule those tough non-conference games to build their quality of schedule, because when it comes to conference play, every game is a quad one
or quad two, yeah,
quad 2 game. And so I was thinking about that, in which that And if these lopsided games, Coach Sampson, he references, you get the ability to play some of the younger players and play some of those different lineups and keep some of those players fresh, in which something they really haven't been able to do a lot of in previous seasons. And so this year's team, I mean, like you said, Kris, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting bored with the with this.
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm talking about from our show.
No,
Don't be
okay.
shy about the comments. Yeah, don't be bored with the success and have that impact your comments on Let's Rage
Oh, I
Coogs.
got you. I
Yeah,
got
give
you.
us the love here on the show. I understand that because there probably going to be some games. So far, there've been some games in this young season that have been boring. I'm not going to lie about that. And I've been at them, and I'm like, boy, okay, well, let's
Yeah,
end this, man. But understood.
not for sure. But man, Jamal, let's go to Jamal. I think I've seen a couple times where he's the coach on the floor. Coach
Mhm.
Sampson's famous quote was, "There's 3 players who can't have a bad practice: him, his point guard, and his best player." And Jamal saw a couple instances where he was coaching on the floor, whether it's to Terrence and other players, getting him in certain spots, and
Yep.
he was doing it demonstratively. And
Mhm.
so his leadership, his knowing what it takes to get to that level where they're trying to reach to win a championship. Yeah, I feel like he's really ready. And when he has his jumper going, primarily from that mid range and being able to read the pick and roll, and because a lot of teams are going to challenge him to go under the screen. So when he can step up, whether it's knock down that 3 or knock down that mid range, it's really just going to make Houston offense more potent.
What are your thoughts on this statement? Really missing that spacing Jarris Walker gave us at the 4 spot.
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely missing that spacing in regards to when you got 2 bigs on the court, 1,000%. But I think you'll see a lot of 4 guard lineups
Mhm.
to where you will be able to have that spacing. But for sure, you miss, and not only his spacing, his low post ability, his ability to, whether it be in the mid post or on the block, and be able to score. That's something that Houston has had going back to Breon Brady, from Fabian, from Jarris, and to other players to be able to score on the block. Coach Sampson wants to throw the ball on the block from time to time to be able to whether draw a foul and just get a bucket inside. And so that was something I was thinking of, and that's why I think maybe Dayon is the best low post scorer here on this team. But 100%, I think they do miss that ability from the 4 spot to spread the floor, but they were able to get that floor spacing with their different lineups and when being able to go to 4 guards on the court.
I agree. It's a different look. And you will see at some time, you might see Terrence or Moan at that 4, especially Terrence, who can space the floor when they go 4 guards and 1 big. So it's going to be different looks. This team has versatility that we may not have seen in previous years with the Cougs roster. They're going to beat teams differently. Defensively, I think they're quicker, longer, more athletic than some previous Cougs teams. The versatility is there. You see some slippage defensively. I think that's more with still being new teammates and communication breakdowns here and there, but they're still winning because of who they're playing. Big margins. I'll say it again what Coach Sampson said after the game earlier in the week. This year's non-conference schedule, part of it is to get guys more minutes and to get better for conference play. So that's why you're scheduling some not as strong non-conference opponents. Dayon touched on it. Cougs in the Big 12 now. They don't have to schedule a lot of tough non-conference opponents anymore because they're going to face it every night once the Big 12 begins. You're adjusting with your personnel, with reality of Big 12 play. No longer in the American. Don't have to have it. Playing Xavier on the road will be tough. Playing the Aggies, hopefully the Aggies will be maybe top 12, top 15, top 10 in the matchup in mid-December in Toyota Center. And that'll be it in terms of tough matchups for non-conference opponents. And then everybody, all the fans I know, are anxious to see what the Cougs look like in Big 12 competition, against Big 12 competition. We're just going to have to deal with what is in front of us right now. A possible Dayton matchup in the championship game of the Charleston Classic might not be too bad. Might be interesting. Dayton, St. John's, look forward to that. I'm looking past Utah, Wake Forest. None of that, but just the possibility of that on Sunday evening could be a different matchup as well.
Even these next two games, whether it's Wake Forest or Utah, and then get into that championship game, whether it's Dayton or St. John's, will be competitive games, I think, especially compared to these other games that we've seen. So I can't wait to see that, especially really in that next game, will it be Wake Forest or will it be Utah? Utah's a team that's coming into the Big 12 next year, so that's a team they will be facing in conference play for years to come. And so I want to see, like I said in the last episode, how will these teams, how will this year's team respond in adverse situation, and how will Coach Sampson respond in regards to which lineups, which players will he have on the floor in certain moments? He does an outstanding job, which makes him one of the great coaches, in my opinion, is coaching on a game-to-game basis and allow the story of the game to tell itself and not having his mind made up. Oh, we go to these players to certain plays. No, he's going to go to the player depending on how the game is going, which player is high, who has the mismatch, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I can't wait to see a better matchup against Houston, more competitive game. But one of the players who had his best game today, in my opinion, as well, was J.V. Francis. What did you see from him tonight?
He looked good. Let me get on this comment right here. Utah is the second tallest roster in the NCAA. So if they do win tonight, it will be a different challenge for the Cougs and how Utah handles the Cougs' monster traps in the low post. Because you got to be quick on the passes. You got to make the right pass because the Cougs will force certain things away from you from that monster trap.
I watched the game with Kansas last night. I'm really not worried about matching up with Hunter Dickerson at all. He's a great player. But the way that Houston plays, Houston will force him to go to his right hand, in which he struggles. KJ Adams isn't a big player. Him and J1 is probably the same height. He's a little bit more athletic than J1, but the tenacity and both how they play with, that's going to be a good matchup. And so I think we match up with Kansas really well. I can't wait to see that matchup. But Utah is a big team. And I want to see how they play. I'm going to watch some of their game and see what they look like and see who wins that game to be able to kind of prejudge on what the next matchup will be like.
Yep, and I'll get on Xavier in just a second. We'll talk about him. But one thing, we've said it, everybody who's followed us on Let's Rage Coogs knows. It is one thing to kind of prepare, plan for facing the Cougars defense.
Yeah.
But if you are not in the same conference with them, face them twice a year, until you see it in game action, you're not ready for it. You're not ready for the rotations, the physicality, the athleticism. All those things will take you a while to adjust and get used to it. And then by that time, it might be too late.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, you can watch film and know the scheme and know what they're going to do. But it's a difference with the tenacity and the energy and the length and athleticism, all the things that you just mentioned, to how they play and play so relentless on a possession basis. I mean, not many teams defensively really do that on a game-to-game basis, and so that's something to be mindful of. And so Houston defense it's hard to really prepare for it, and so I can't wait to say that, because I can see how they play against better opponents. But that's where they make their hay. Here throughout the broadcast, Coach Sampson, how they reference Coach Sampson. I can't remember what they said, but they talked about defense.
Yes.
And Coach Sampson says he doesn't recruit good defensive players. He recruits good offensive players and coaches them to be good defensive players within that system and play a certain way. And so this team defense is outstanding, man, from the front line with Jamal, the head of the attack, to the back of the line with JVA. And they're all on one accord. They're all hustling to close out, to scrambling. They know what it takes on a game-to-game basis. They know how teams are going to try to beat them on a game-to-game basis. But to the second half, they did get more comfortable playing against Houston defense. They really did. They started to move the ball. They started to know where the help was coming from, knowing when the trap was coming from, and they started making the right pass and making open shots. And that's one way to beat Houston defense, because if you move the ball the right way, you can get open shots.
Right.
And the three ball, if you can make it, then you can have some success against Houston.
So we'll see what Utah or Wake Forest does, because they could study the second half that Towson had tonight and say and game plan, okay, this is what they did. This is what worked against Houston. But Coach Sampson and the staff would say, okay, this didn't work for us. We're going to do things differently Friday and mix it up. Because as you said, and a lot of folks believe, Kelvin Sampson is one of the best head coaches in basketball. He's going to make adjustments defensively and say, okay, guys, this didn't work. Let's fine tune some things. But back to Mr. Francis. He looked comfortable on offense. He was 5 for 6. Got that jump hook going with that left hand. He seems really comfortable going over that right shoulder with his left hand. And the more comfortable he gets offensively, you pair him with JoJo Tugler's hustle, length defensively, that could be a really, really solid combo at the 5 spot for this season and next season, hopefully.
1000%. Especially JoJo's length. I didn't realize he was so long until the broadcast talked about his measurements and his length and his reach. And so, but it sticks out. But I was wondering, offensively, he didn't even look to score. He had one time where he could have shot a little mid-range jump shot, but he didn't even look at the basket to score. So that's something I'm sure as the season goes on, he gets more comfortable. He sees where he's going to have an opportunity to impact the game offensively. He will start looking at the rim and looking to score. But I want to see what can he bring offensively. I know he can attack the rim and he can finish at the rim, but outside of that, does he have a little mid-range shot? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him to be able to give an opinion on what he has offensively. But defensively, you're 1000% correct. I think with his athleticism, his length, to be able to not only block shots and rebound, because there was some rebounds he went and got as well. And so I agree with you for sure on that.
And his deflections.
Yep.
Just, the versatility at that 5 spot going forward. He's more comfortable on the block. And I think as this season progresses, he'll probably extend the range to at least mid-range. But right now, he's just dunks, layups, and maybe he's got a good drop step. It's part of the Cougar big man tradition, have that drop step going. But we're talking about Houston's 65-49 win over Towson in a quarterfinal game of the 2023 Charleston Classic. You're watching Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian family, as well as our secondary sponsor, Star Pizza. Star Pizza, with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. You're watching us on YouTube as well as on Twitter at @PaulSlamMyJamma. On those platforms, I am Kris Gardner of the Houston Round Bar Review, and with me is Dayon Dunlap. Andy Yanez, I'm not sure if Andy has coaching a game tonight, or if he's still doing teacher duties. But that's why you're just seeing the two of us. I think Andy's going to join us tomorrow, right? It's going to be the 3 of us on Friday, right? I think. Is that right?
I believe so. Is the game at 3:30 tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. I believe so.
So we'll probably start tomorrow's show around 6, barring overtime. Well, let's say 6:15 because the first game might go long or who knows, whatever kind of thing. But just plan on that next edition of Let's Rage Coogs. But tonight, Thursday night, we're talking about the Cougs 65-49 win over Towson. It was methodical. It wasn't in doubt. The Cougs led the entire game. Elder Cryer scored 18 points, looking more comfortable. Emmanuel Sharp came off the bench, scored 14 points. Jawan Roberts had, I think, 11 rebounds. Javier Francis had 10 points, 5 or 6 from the floor. They're beating you different ways. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was going to ask you a question. What's your thoughts on Terrence's play of so far here this season? What are you seeing from him? What ways have you seen him progress? And just what you're seeing from him so far this season?
Offensively, I think he's coming along. The 3-point shot, one thing on 3-point shot, he's not hesitating. Last year he hesitated, study wrong, study long, study long, study wrong. And so he's not doing that. He's getting more confident in his 3-point shot. So that's a positive. Defensively, he's late on rotations. He's got to clean that up. And you mentioned it, you touched on it earlier about Jamal Shed. Jamal got on Terrence.
Yeah.
Terrence missed an assignment. Coach Sampson yelled at him. Terrence looked to the bench. Jamal said, doesn't matter. The call was whatever it was. The call was something. You're supposed to be in this for that call. So Terrence has to clean that up. 4 games into his sophomore season, he will get better defensively. But it's just another example of the development of the potential for this team going forward this season.
Yeah, I agree. I second everything you said. And what I'm seeing from him, especially starting with that jump shot, more comfortable, more confident, and he's not hesitating. He's catching it and he's letting it go. But when I watch him, I watch him and I judge him projecting to the next level because I think that he's a next level player. And so I'm very critical when I watch him and I judge him based on his potential to be at that next level. And in my opinion, and it's still a small sample size, I still think he has a ways to go before he reach his potential, in my opinion, to be ready to not only be at that next level where I think he will be, but be ready to impact at that next level. Because of now, it's still I can still see there's time he's still thinking. Whether it's offensively, defensively, he's not fully just reacting. And it seems like the game is slowed down for him some, but I think when it really, really slows down and he really, really is being able to play more minutes, because he's still playing limited minutes as well. So I also keep that in mind as well. But overall, I still see the flashes. I still see his ability to do really much anything on the court. But I want to see him be a little bit more aggressive offensively, especially when he catches it, whether it's being jab step attack, he shoot his mid range to get inside to drive, and not so much just catching and shooting. A lot of his points often comes from catching and shooting, or from driving, or from cutting and getting a pass. I want to see him be a little bit more aggressive. But other than that, I think he's showing flashes of what he can do.
And I think, and Boss agrees with both of us. What I'm going to say is, I'd like to see him get to a point where he's anticipating, where he's so comfortable on the floor defensively, he's like a step ahead of the offense. He knows what's coming, that kind of thing. He's a scouting report, his own point. He knows rotation is there. He's beating his man to the spot. That kind of a defensive versatility there. Offensively, he has more in his bag to show. I think this season, I'm going to say it now, it doesn't matter what others say. He's not ready for the NBA. It'd be great. Coach Sampson said it, kind of said a little dig last Saturday. That'll be wise for him to come back for another year. I agree with that, but we'll see how he progresses throughout this sophomore season, because someone sent me a mock draft and has Terrence in the first round, late first round already. So the talk is already out there about his potential going forward, but he has a lot to work on in his skill set, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I agree.
He needs to come back, fine tune it just one more year, and then his next year's team could be his team.
Yeah, no, I agree 1000%. Because and we've seen that last year after the Oregon game, you will see mock drafts with him in the first round, and it has a lot to do with his potential. That's why I'm saying I judge him on that scale of an NBA player, not so much of a college. But I realize where he is in college, but I foresee on what he needs to do and what he will be able to do if he stays and develop here in this system with Coach Sampson and staff, because they do an outstanding job of developing players. But no, I agree. I think he will, and I don't know him at all, and he doesn't seem like a player to listen to that outside noise. It seems like he has he's where his feet is, and he trusts the coaching staff and trusts their opinions in regards to where he is. And I think, like you said, he still has time to continue. We'll see how the season goes. It's only a few sample sizes in, so we're not picking him, but we're just giving our observation on what we've seen so far. And so far, like you said, he has a lot in his bag, but I want to see him get in it.
Right.
I want to see him get in his bag at times, and it'll happen as the season goes on. I mean, he'll have his moments, but will he be consistent? That's what I want to see. I want to see consistency, regardless if it's, I'm not even looking at the points or what he scores, just a consistent level of play offensively and defensively, to where, like we said, he's reacting and not being reactive to what the defense or what the offense is doing to him.
Well said. And think about this. Can you imagine if everybody, the 10-man rotation, is consistently good, game in, game out, where you know you're going to get X from Francis, so much from Roberts, Dayon, Emmanuel, Jamal, LJ, Terrence, Ramon. The potential of this year's team, what it could be. If they're locked in offensively, defensively, not thinking about it, everybody's just on a string together. The defense is on point, no breakdowns. And then you're talking about Terrence getting into his bag offensively. LJ, raining threes. Emmanuel, raining threes. Dayon Dunn getting some buckets from the mid post. Jamal getting you dimes and buckets with the floater. On and on and on about the potential for this year's team.
But one thing that I think can give this team fits this year, what is watching so far, their lack of depth in the 5 spot, the center spot.
Yeah.
Because when you go up against dominant centers like Dickerson, for example, JVA might get in foul trouble.
Yes.
And who is that backup center? I know JoJo can play at the 5, but he's not really a 5. And J1 played at the 5 last year, but he's a 6'6", 6'7" center. And oftentimes in the league that they're in now, in the Big 12, you're going against 6'9", 6'10", against big men, or some of them can score on the offense. And so I think foul trouble in their big man is something that can plague them, but it's really on a game-to-game basis because a lot of teams play these 4-out with 1-5 philosophies anyway and don't really have necessarily a big center. But that's why I say it depends on the matchup, depends on the game, but that's something that could give the Houston trouble if JVA and some of their big men get into foul trouble. Now, we talked about the depth with the guards, and that's something they have. And I think that's why Coach Sampson wants to play faster and wants to do those type of things, because of you do get in foul trouble, you have to go smaller. Now your advantage is with your athleticism. And some of these players might be shorter, but they do have the length and stuff. And so to get deflection, be able to get out in transition. So that's just something I'm going to keep my eye on as the season goes on, because we haven't seen St. Lathe yet in regards to really in much playing time. And so it's really JVA comes out, J1 will move to the 5, or JoJo or one of them will move to the 5 and play at the same time together, or it's a 4-guard lineup. And so depending on the matchup, a team with quality big man depth and ability to score on the block could give Houston some trouble.
Agreed. Said a lot. He's still new to basketball, but he is a physical specimen. He's the last big man to play. Foul trouble to the bigs would be a concern. No doubt about it. I think the staff agrees with you on that, and fans do, obviously, as well. It could be a concern. But the flip side of that is you go small if you have to. Come tournament time, you just got to win one time with foul trouble. It's not a series. 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7. You just find a way to advance in that one game of foul trouble. And if said lot progresses enough to where Coach Sampson trusts him and said, we just need you to give us 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get us to halftime. And then we're going to bring our bigs back second half. You give us 5 good minutes. That's a positive for the team. I'm not sure he can do that. I don't know if he's at that point. We'll get to that point. But if he does, that will be a big boost to this year's team, because the lack of a backup big man, because JoJo's not a big, he's 18, he's young and light compared to Said. But if Said can do that, that could be the missing piece for a championship.
Yeah, you said it right. No, I agree wholeheartedly. But Houston, like you said, their guard play, and over the recent years, really has been their strength. I mean, I can't think of a time where their post has been primarily. It's a guard-driven game from college, and that's how it is at Houston. And so they could plague them, but you never know, man. The way Houston plays, whether it's 4 guards or whatever, they're still gonna play that monster defense and double the post. But that's just kind of really, we're not really nitpicking. We're just talking about what we're observing and what could plague them going forward. But so far, I give this team their flowers. They're dominant, and they are playing dominating the teams that they should dominate so far in this season, and they're doing it on the defensive end first. You see in that first half, I think they had 4 or 5 shot clock violations. Yeah. You didn't even get a shot off. Yeah. And that goes to our point of you can't replicate or duplicate how hard they play in practice. You can know the scheme and know they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but you, you can't replicate how hard and how tenacious that they are, on how relentless they are on every pass, every trap, on the defense, every possession.
Going to address this. Michael Jones. I wonder why we didn't see a 7-footer in the portal. The year we had one, we went to the Final Four, talking about Josh Carlton.
Oh yeah.
The fives.
He said Coach Sampson, he talked about that. Well, no,
Yeah.
Kellen Sampson. Before you go, Chris, Kellen
Go
Sampson
ahead.
might agree with him. He actually mentioned, I asked him about JVA. He said, we really, really thought heavily about taking a big man in the portal, but we came to a consensus that it's time to JVA to really, really play and to really, really develop. He's been playing so much in spot minutes. Kellen Sampson said that this year it's time for JVA to really play a lot of minutes, and really, really fully develop with his playing time. And they're really putting their trust in him. That's why they didn't go get another big man in the portal.
That's what I heard too. They really believe in JVA this year, and sink or swim, honestly. But outside of Hunter Dickinson, as a 7-foot skilled big man, Michael Jones, I'm asking you and other fans who had the same concern, what other low post big man at that 5 spot would you have wanted Houston to get? Because other guys who were being discussed were perimeter players, perimeter bigs, stretch bigs. Dayon's talking about guys who can defend bigs on the block. There weren't that many of those available in the portal. So, we can have a wish list about why couldn't we have gotten so-and-so, but how many low post bigs were available for Houston to get? That's my question to you, Michael Jones. But, college basketball, it's not a series. You just got to win one game and advance to the next game in the Final Four in the tournament. You're not facing Hunter Dickinson 7 times, 4 times in the tournament to advance. Just got to do it once. You may not even play Kansas. Play in Big 12. That might be it. Come tournament time, be on different sides of the brackets, upsets happen. May never see Hunter the rest of the year. So let's just think about how this Cougs team is one thing. If the Cougs perimeter defense continues to shine and excel and keep the ball out of the post, you don't have to worry about the ball going to the post because it never gets there. Yeah. So that might be one of the reasons they're playing more aggressively on the perimeter that way, to counter and keep the ball from getting to the low post. Because even if it does, that monster defense, the double team on the block, will force passes, rotations of that sort, and certain teams won't be used to it. Let's see what he says. It's not that they had to be. We're not talking about offense. We're talking about defense. The Cougs offense with the wings, perimeter, and the guards should not be a problem this year. We're talking about defending bigger bodies. Right?
Right. And I know we're not nitpicking. We're just I don't know why I keep thinking that, but we just really just giving our observations. And although I said that's something that could give Houston problems, but I also preface that by saying it's a game-to-game basis and a matchup basis, because it's not a lot of teams, like you said, that have dominant 5s that can really score the basketball. And so one thing that has plagued Houston from going all the way back to all of the losses in the NCAA tournament, all of those teams had guards that can really, really score. Just go back to last year with Miami.
Yes.
They had guards that could score the basketball and really been able to knock down the 3, because Houston plays so hard and wants to keep the ball out of the paint so much, then often they will rotate. But in those rotations, if you move the basketball and catch them in the rotation, you can get some good looks.
Mm-hmm.
And coming off those pick and rolls, you can get some good looks. And so you got to have really dominant guards to beat Houston. I haven't seen a team yet that had a dominant post player outside of Taco Fall that I can remember at UCF that really, really hurt Houston and they lost that game. But tomato. It's still the early season. We're really just really talking about the season and what could transpire and what could hurt them, what could not.
Well, now Michael saying a big body. Well, Sid Lott is a big body.
Yeah.
Just getting a big body in the portal, you got a big body. If that's all you wanted is a big body and not someone to get some points from, Sid, like its own Sid, he's inexperienced. He's new to basketball. So he hasn't played basketball a long time. But if he can get to a point, and who he's going against in practice should help him get better. But if he gets to a point this season where Coach Sampson and the staff trust him enough, said, we need you 5 minutes first half, 5 minutes second half to body up Zach Edey. And they trust him enough to body him up and be the back part, because the help for the monster is going to come from somebody else. So said, you just body him up. We're going to send you help. If he can do that and avoid picking up 5 fouls in 10 minutes.
But look, even to that, those 5 fouls, I'm sure, is part of the equation of those 5, 6, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Use them up. We don't mind. You're going to be in there to use them up. And so I think there will be a time where we may see him or we may not. But those fouls is something that Houston can utilize, because we're referencing foul trouble and how if he's get on the floor, most likely it probably will be because of foul trouble. And so, man, this team, I think, has a chance to be really, really good. I mean, Coach Sampson says he really likes it. I really like this team. And just watching them, they have a lot of ways that they can beat you. I think in the half-court set, they're showing that if they can execute the right way and move the ball, and Jamal can be able to get inside with his pick and roll and pick the defense apart, whether it's looking to score or if it's looking to make a play and getting it outside to his shooters and his playmakers. 2.5 court set featuring Dayon Dunn. This team really, really is, I think, has a chance to be a really, really good team.
Agreed. And we're going to wrap it up there. Michael Jones said the ceiling is high for this team.
Yes, sir, Mike.
We all agree on that. So thank you, everybody, for watching this edition of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian family, as well as by our secondary sponsor, Star Pizza. And Star Pizza, reminder, with multiple locations across the Houston area, Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. We'll be back Friday, 6:15 or so, after the semifinal matchup between the Cougs and Utah or Wake Forest. Join us here again on these same platforms on this edition, on the next edition of Let's Rage Coogs. We'll be with you throughout the season. Non-conference, Big 12 tournament. And as far as the Cougs go in the NCAA tournament, we'll be with you. Y'all stick with us throughout this season. I'm Kris Gardner of Houston Roundbar Review. Follow me and find me on Houston Roundbar Review on YouTube, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Spotify, all those places. Thank you, as always, for your comments, your support. Tell your friends about Let's Rage Coogs. Tell your friends about Paul Slamma Jamma. Tell your friends about the Houston Roundbar Review and what we provide for Coug fans and basketball fans, and, of course, football fans, too. Dayon, you got my man. Close us out.
Mike, everybody in the comments taking the time to comment, watch us. Like Kris just said, we appreciate the support. We'll challenge you to share this show to one of your friends, one of your Coug fans, basketball fans, like Kris said, and come and join us. A couple games on the football season left. So this is the Houston Cougars original post-game show, and we're going to give it to you exactly like we said. And you can follow me on all social media platforms like the shows on the screen at Dayon Dunlap. Hope you all have a good night. And as always, baby, it's go Cougs.